This is the process shot. I'm Michael, I'm stuck in a movie theater, and I think I just lost 2.5 hours of my life to this last movie. Army of the Dead is a new action horror film directed by Zack Snyder, set in the aftermath of the containment of Las Vegas, after it becomes the epicenter of a zombie outbreak. Scott Ward, a former mercenary, is hired by a casino owner to form a team and break back into the city to pull off a multi-million-dollar heist from his own vault before a tactical nuke is launched, which is intended to wipe out the remaining zombie population for good. As the ragtag group makes its way through the ruins, a multitude of obstacles are put in their way, from surprise tag-along members to double crosses and betrayals, capped off by a ticking clock as the nuclear launch approaches. Sounds fun, doesn't it? Unfortunately, the premise of the movie is more exciting than the execution. After a scene that reveals how the zombie outbreak started, there's a nice montage during the opening credits that showcases groups of people fighting against the zombie hordes, from normal citizens to the military, eventually resulting in the loss of Las Vegas. This is where the movie stops being fun. After this, it takes up a more drama-heavy tone, with some bits of comic relief here and there. It's balanced well enough, but the contrast between the tone of the opening and the actual movie is pretty extreme, especially by the end of the film. Personally, I feel like they could have just ended the movie after the opening, and it would have been satisfying enough. Thematically, there are hints of a deeper idea of a cyclical process going on, with notions of death and rebirth made throughout the film, but they go ignored for the most part and never have a true payoff. Anyways, besides this, there's a good amount of action scenes peppered throughout Army of the Dead. The movie isn't really driven by action, though. The first hour is pretty much empty of any action sequences and focused on getting the team together. When the group do get into Vegas, there still isn't much in the way of the kind of zombie-killing action you'd expect from a film like this, up until the last 45 minutes to the last hour of the film. In all, there's maybe like 3 or 4 major zombie killing scenes, and while they're technically impressive, there really isn't much to them, mostly because they just add to the dramatic tone of the story and are used for killing off members of the team. On that note, it's probably worth mentioning that despite spending so much time with the characters before and during the Vegas heist, there really aren't that many strong individual character arcs going on, nor do they get any strong development or changes over the course of the story. The only real developed relationship comes from Scott and his daughter, who comes along when she learns a friend has gone missing after sneaking into the city. On a technical level, the rest of Army of the Dead is mostly competent. There's a healthy amount of CGI and other special effects, and it all works out to make the world feel real rather than being an obvious set piece. There's a great amount of detail that went into the zombie makeup and costuming, though I feel like in the end it came out with the impression that it was mostly CGI, or at least augmented in post-production. The action scenes are pretty well choreographed, with a good amount of fighting going on, but still managing to keep things coherent. I think one of the bigger problems with the movie is its cinematography choices. Action scenes aren't really all too dynamic, keeping things visible, but flat and less interesting as a result. And then there's also a good amount of a heavy blurring in some scenes, as if they forgot to change the focus during shots and left it on whatever it needed to be by the end of the shot. It's pretty distracting, especially when it's held on the blur for a while in a few scenes. In the end, I feel like Army of the Dead knows how to do what it's doing, but isn't quite sure of what it wants to be. On one hand, it sells itself as an action heist film where the obstacles are zombies instead of security, and the setting is a brightly lit casino complex rather than some kind of banking institution. On the other hand, it plays out as a horror drama where characters are scuttled out one by one, maybe with an ongoing commentary about how all of this is occurring now because it's happened before and will be fated to happen again. The movie can't really balance the two ideas well, and coupled with its other flaws, it just isn't able to keep itself together. You know, kinda like a zombie in general. but I doubt that's what they were going for. Army of the Dead. Zack Snyder, 2021. 1.5 stars. I don't recommend the movie. Maybe you could just watch 2 separate heist and zombie movies instead. Anyways, that's the end of this review. Like the video if you liked it, or leave a comment if you didn't. Subscribe if you want to see more reviews. You know, come to think of it, the whole cyclical thing would play off if there was a sequel that's exactly the same as the first movie. Might be funny.